Yo, what's going on, guys? We have the best comps for TFT for patch 11.7, and these comps are hotter than Dogecoin right now. All right, maybe not that good, but like they're pretty good. All right. So going into this is the last patch of the entire set 4.5, and that means if you want to get that last rank to get the end of season rewards, you got to be grinding these last 2 weeks in order to get that rank. So with that in mind, let's just hop right into it. So first off, there was like a pretty sizable patch. It's bigger than the last two patches for sure. There are nerfs to Samira, Swain, Nico, and Dragonsoul, but the biggest one by far is a Spirit nerf. I don't know why they keep nerfing Spirits, but I guess they don't want people to play it in the last patch. But the one thing I've noticed is that despite all these changes, they also bunched like a bunch of random stuff. Kale got a very, very slight buff, but all the comps that were being played in the past month and a half, they're all still being played. It's just at a little different frequency than what it is before. But it's still all the same comps. Like everything you played before, if you get a good start for it, if you get a transition into it, like keep going for that, because that is going to be the best strategy for your game, most likely still. So best comps right now is Keepers by far. And then after that, it's Slayers. After that, there's another gap, and we have Kale, Cultists, Mages, Dragonsoul, Nico, Talon. And then in the B tier, we have the Spirit Sharpshooters, 8 Brawler Shyvana, Assassin Spirits, regular Sharpshooters such as Sharpshooter Vanguard with Silver Carry, and then Warlords and Duelists. And then C tier don't play any of these, especially not the Zed comp. Like they just nerfed Spirits, and Zed relied on Spirits, and it just doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, just don't play any of those comps. But let's do a quick review. There are a couple of changes here and there on certain techs that people swap in and out during this past week. But for Keepers, it's all the same. You do the same exact thing. You get GA, Morello, Kennen, then literally every other item you build does not matter at all. Ideally, you get like a Xayah carry with some sort of crit item, either IE or Jeweled Gauntlet. Handed Justice is really good for healing and damage. Titan's Resolve is pretty good too. And then you could Titan's like set as well. Titans is a great item because this comp hates bows, and now you could turn it into an actual usable item other than like a static shiv. But nothing's changed for Keeper Kennen. Keeper Kennen rose to the top because guess what? Everything else got nerfed. So surprise, surprise, this comp is going to be slightly better than everything else. Slayers, they got touched slightly, but that's really just Samira and Swain being touched. You don't always get to Samira or Swain, and you don't really need them. What you really need is 2-star Tryndamere, 2-star Olaf. And obviously, if you get a Samira 2-star, like it's still going to be good. It's just not going to be Exodia, which is what it was before, essentially. And you could go like 3 Slayer, 6 Slayer, all sorts of combinations. So just keep that in mind. You just need a lot of sword, bow, and like guardian angels, and then you should be good to go. What I like to do is mix this with some sort of Dragonsoul composition. So I have 2 different options to go for as I play the game, but we'll get into Dragonsouls a bit later. Oh, just one more thing to keep in mind, like full guides all on my website, BunnyMuffins.lol. Just go to this page and then click like in the how to play section for each comp. There's like, click the full guide there and you should see everything. Onto the A tiers, Executioner Kale. This is a comp that got a slight buff. The one most important thing I want to remind you guys when playing Kale is that you only want 2 or 4 Executioner. Never go 3. So if you have Executioner chosen, always go for 4. If you do not have it, just go for 2. Normally that means not playing Xayah, and the reason why you want to do this is because you need to fit other synergies in order to complement your Kale. So what are those other synergies? It could be anything from like Adepts, Vanguards, and random legendaries. Those are the main ones I go for. 4 Divine isn't even that important. I often like to just run 2 Divine, which is Kale and Lee Sin. But if you get Divine chosen, 4 Divine's fine. You could add in a Yone for 3 Adepts. You could add in Sejuani Aatrox for 2 Vanguards if you're facing a lot of physical damage. A lot of different combinations you can sort of use there. You could also drop in a random Azir because Azir is just a great tank unit, and Kale just needs tanks. Nothing too much has changed there, but I just wanted to give that little reminder. We had that noted in our guide that was launched at the beginning of the set, and like we've been saying, only use 2 or 4 Executioner for the longest time, and that's still true now. Nothing really changed that. Onto the next comp, Cultists. Cultists have made a huge bump up because I just feel like Kalista is so incredibly strong. What I like in this comp a lot is getting a Duelist spatula, because that means your level 8 is super, super strong because you get 9 Cultists plus a little bonus for your Kalista, but we can't always get that. But if you do get a spatula for this comp, it is really, really good. If not, go to level 9 and then add in a Duelist after that, such as Lee Sin, and knock the other person's 3-star unit off the board anyways. I usually go for this composition if I have a Cultist start, and then as I'm rolling down to try to pivot into other compositions, if I get an early Zillion, I'll go ahead and stay Cultist to go for 9 Cultists instead of going into like Slayers or something else. Now onto Mages. Mages, they got probably the biggest nerf by far. Swain got nerfed, Aesol got nerfed. It's a little rough, but Acel still one-shots people if he has AP items. You could also build Chalice of Power on a support unit, and that makes it so he doesn't even have a damage loss from the AP nerf. But it just requires like one extra item or maybe like hitting slightly earlier than you normally do to have the same power level. And Mage Swain, let's be honest, before it was just like, it was way too strong, right? Now it's still strong. It might still be way too strong, but yeah, just keep playing Swain Acel with Mage Cap. You are going to have a great time. Now onto Dragonsoul. This is the mix and match composition between the mages and the Slayer builds. You could frontline Acel if you have a Guardian Angel. If not, I like to backline him. And then you could run Shyvana or Olaf for your AD items, and then run Swain tank items as well. Swain also could use Mage Cap here, and then you don't run Lulu. It saves you an extra slot. If you get a lot of spatulas, Dragonsoul is probably the best comp to go for because they have so many different uses for it. And ignore this Luden's Echo. They removed this item for the game in the next set. And I just wish that they fixed this item. That's why I leave it here, because I want them to fix Luden's. It was bugged for a long time in this set, and at least allegedly. I haven't tested it out every single patch, but from what I've heard before, it is bugged on brand, and he was pretty much the only user of this item. So rest in peace, Luden's Echo. It was one of my favorite items. Onto the next build, Fabled Vanguard Mystic. This is a little deceptive, because in the name I say Fabled Vanguard Mystic, you don't even need Fabled anymore. I can promise you guys that. Like, a lot of people have been running this comp without Cho'Gath and just going 6 Vanguards or 8 Vanguards and then 2 or 4 Mystic. And the reason why you don't need that anymore is because Neeko is absolutely busted, broken, OP, whatever words you want to use, that is Neeko. Because she's just like a 3-cost unit, and she destroys a lot of boards with the right items, even without the Fabled trait. Because before it was too reliant on Fabled. If you didn't have Fabled, you'd lose every round. Now it's too unreliant on Fabled, if that makes sense. They did nerf her a little bit, so that kind of adjusts the game a tiny bit, but she's still really good. Obviously, if you get a Fabled early, like, still play it. But in the late game, like, you don't need it if you have 3-star Neeko and good items. Now onto the Talon comp. I think this is a comp that only like high-level players play, but the only reason why that's a thing is because everyone's under the impression that Talon sucks, and he really doesn't. You build GA Morello, and GA Morello fits in almost every composition, so you could go for Keepers, which is an S-tier composition, and then as you roll down, if you hit an early Morgana or an early Talon, you could go ahead and swap into the Enlightened Talon build. They use the same exact items. These are the only 2 items that matter, GA and Morello. And then after that, you just get random damage items or Talon, and then some support or tank items from Morgana, and then you're good to go. Any leftover items you put on Yone, and he's going to do a lot of work as well. But I don't think that lower level players, such as people beneath like Masters or Grandmasters, are really playing too much Talon, but I really think they should, because it is a solid comp if you get the right items for it, and if you transition from a GA Morello start, it's kind of like a no-brainer and gives you like a second option. Onto the B tier, Spirit Sharpshooter, big nerfs there. Spirit got a lot of attack speed reduction now when you run 4 Spirit, but it still hits pretty hard, just not as hard as it used to. But if you get a lot of Tristanas and a lot of Dianas early and you 3-star them early, you're going to be doing fine, of course. But I just wish that they didn't nerf it, because I feel like it's a little weak now, that I wouldn't want to go for it automatically if I get like 5 Tristanas at the start of the game, for example. Assassins, same story there, except Akali, like, he's going to be one-tapping people. You get 3-star Akali, like, who cares if you have a little less attack speed with the Spirit nerf, because she kills people before she even gets the Spirit buff. So this comp isn't as affected as a Sharpshooter comp, but it still gets slightly hit because of the Spirit nerfs. Still very good, because again, 3-star Akali, if you get it, 1-taps everything anyways before she even gets a Spirit buff, so you don't actually lose out on anything there. Brawler Shyvana. I dropped this down a bit because I feel like it's underperforming a little bit. Every other comp did get nerfed, so maybe it's not as bad as I say it is in this particular tier list. But I typically only use Brawlers as a transition. I'm going to release a video tomorrow or like later today showing a good transition from Brawlers into a different composition. So if you want to learn how to play Brawlers and how to pivot out of it as well, definitely look out for that video. And then subscribe below to get a notification for when that comes out if you turn the bell on. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying this video so far as well, go ahead, smash the like down below. But let's go on to the next comp, which is Sharpshooter Vanguards. And yeah, typical Sivir stuff. She just Sivers people. I don't really know what else to say there. If you're going for like Spirit Assassins and then you hit a lot of Sivers instead of Akalis, they both use RFC, they both use QSS really well. The only difference is you don't need Diana in this composition. So if you went for the assassin build without like 3-star Diana, which is pretty popular now because people like to get chosen a Kayle instead of chosen Diana, you could pivot into this build if you already have an early RFC. It's pretty useful. Next up, Warlords. Perfect Adam Cat, 3-star, wins every game, but doesn't happen that often, and the transition is a little more icky now than it was earlier in the set. But if you get it, you get it, and it's going to be really good. Duelist, I mean, like, it's not that great of a comp. You kind of rely on hitting 3-star Yasuo early, which isn't even that good, and then you have to rely on hitting random legendaries later. So I never enjoy playing this composition, but if you guys like Reroll, this is one of the other Reroll comps. So say that like you only like playing Reroll and people are contesting the Tristana a lot, people are contesting the Assassins a lot, like Diana. You could go for Duelists, I guess. Like, again, it's not a good comp, but if you really want to Reroll, the option's out there for you. I think that's all the comps. Like, don't play this comp. Don't play this comp. Like, really stay away from this comp. Like, everything about it got nerfed when it was already not good. And then don't play this comp and don't play that comp. So that is pretty much it. So if you guys are interested, I am releasing a bunch of set 5 videos, and I'll be working with a lot of like high-level players to create more composition guides in the next set. I'll probably do like 2 composition guides per week once the set comes out, and then like later on it'll drop down to 1. Of course, I'll still do my meta snapshots every Friday. And yeah, for more information on this, check out the website, BunnyMuffins.lol. I need to change this number to 8 instead of 7. But yeah, I hope to see you guys there.